newcomers and to everyone else who has returned, welcome back. This is going to be part of the language and style category and will be split into multiple subcategories. You don't have to watch any of these in any order. You can watch it in whichever order or whatever order you want or need it in. There will be mentions of other categories and subcategories in this as while they can technically be explained separately, public speaking has a lot of overlap and a lot of them are hard to just clearly cut or differentiate. In this video, we will be focusing on language and style, more specifically, metaphors. Now, first things first, what is language and style? Language and style is all about how you speak, the words you choose, how you organize them, and how formal and or casual those words are. Everyone has their own natural way of speaking, but public speaking requires you to adjust your style to fit your topic and or audience. You won't describe a research paper the same way you'd describe a funny story to your friends. For a research paper or thesis, you'd use more technical words. Your words usually are longer, more proper, and more formal, etc., etc. The way you describe a funny story to your friends is more informal. You can use as many slangs as you want. You can use as many shortcuts as you want. You can go straight off the rails and it still technically be a funny story because you're between friends. Both ways are both are ways of expressing oneself or yourself. But the structure and language or words that will be used in those two scenarios will be different. Well, some of them will be very different. That's what language and style is all about, finding the right way to use your words so your message is clear, engaging, and fits the moment. Now then, let's get into the focus of this video. Metaphors. What is it? Metaphors is one of the more creative tools in public speaking and the one you can take the most artistic liberties in. A metaphor is when you describe one thing as if it were another to help your audience understand it better or to make something feel stronger. It's never meant to be taken literally. Never. It's more of a comparison used to make an idea more vivid and or emotional. Let's see. Examples. Time is money. Her voice is music to my ears. And the world is a stage. All three of them are metaphors. These phrases don't literally mean anything. It doesn't mean that time is money, nor does it mean that the world is a giant stage. But they paint an image of a clear image that the public speaker or the speaker wants to show the audience or help the audience understand their point of view. Why do we use metaphors in public speaking anyway? Metaphors are useful because they make abstract ideas easier to understand. When you use a metaphor, you take something that your audience already knows and use it to explain something new and or complex. Think about, let's say, let's make an example. If you say learning is a new skill is like climbing a mountain, your audience can instantly understand the effort, the challenges, and the rewards involved. It turns a plain sentence like learning new skills take time and effort into something more memorable, relatable, or just straight up easier to understand. Because learning new skills in general, or learning anything new, always takes time and effort. The difference is how much effort needs to be exerted to learn said new skill and what that skill is. So, if you say learning blank or Learning this new skill is like climbing a mountain. Your audience can instantly understand the effort, challenges, and or rewards involved. Metaphors help your audience see what you mean and not just hear what you're saying. They add emotion, imagination, and connection, all the things that you need to make sure a presentation stands out. Metaphors versus similes. You might also hear the term simile used alongside metaphor from time to time. In my opinion, metaphor is used much more often than simile, but if you have heard of it, they're technically similar, but also not exactly. They both technically compare two things, but they use different wordings. Like the metaphor is like you are a shining star. It's not meant to be taken literally, much like simile, who also is not meant to be taken literally, but is worded differently. You shine like a star. The difference is small, very small, but metaphors tends to sound much stronger and sound more direct. They feel natural in speeches because they sound like statements rather than comparisons. Similes are more like you shine like I said, you shine like a star. That means I shine like the sun, like the stars in the night sky that we never see because of this the cloudy skies. Or meanwhile, a metaphor, you are a shining star. That means you are a star in of yourself. Not gonna lie, if anyone were ever to say which one I prefer, I'd say metaphor. The metaphor one sounds much more impactful, much cleaner, much nicer, much more complimentary rather than the simile. How to use metaphors in public speaking. Metaphors are used in many ways, and in this one specifically, it's going to be used for public speaking. How are we supposed to use that? You can use metaphors in almost every type of speech, from academic talks to motivational speeches, but the key is to use them wisely. Here's a few examples that you can take inspiration from. Number one, to explain complex ideas. When your topic is hard to understand, connect it with something familiar. Example, your brain is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. That's technically both an example and a metaphor, but you get what I mean. Number two, to make people feel something. Metaphors can touch emotions more deeply than just plain facts. Examples, grief is a storm that eventually clears, but it leaves the ground changed forever. Number three, to grab attention. Starting a speech with a creative metaphor can catch your audience's interest right away if you do it correctly. Example, imagine your mind as a garden. What you plant will grow. Or number four, to make your message memorable. People forget exact words, but they remember images or terms or, like I said, metaphors. Example, a team is like a pizza. Every piece matters. That the problem is, when it comes to metaphors, is balancing the creativity of using them and the words you use to make said metaphors and the clarity that comes from when you say said metaphors to your audience. Because sometimes the audience may not understand the metaphor, and that can be troublesome. Metaphors are great. They're great. I'm not gonna deny it. They are absolutely wonderful. But please do not overuse them. You don't want to overuse them. Too many metaphors can confuse your audience or can make your speech sound unnatural. Here's a few simple rules that you can use when you use metaphors. Some of them I use, some of them I don't. It depends on whether or not the speaking I'm doing is formal or informal. Use metaphors sparingly, just enough to make your message clear and engaging. Make sure that your metaphor fits your topic and audience. A metaphor that works for children might not fit in a professional audience and vice versa. Technically, a metaphor for children can be understood by professionals and or adults, but sometimes when it comes to more professional things like I said, research thesis and things like that, they prefer a more professional metaphor rather than a more childish one. And please don't use professional metaphors to kids. It's highly unlikely that they'll understand it. Avoid mixing multiple metaphors or mixing metaphors in any way. For example, don't say we need to plant the seeds of success and steer the ship toward victory. What? I understand what the metaphor means, but it just doesn't really fit with one another. You're jumping from one image to the next and it doesn't sound good. If you do want to use two metaphors simultaneously, or if you want to mix multiple metaphors, make sure that they sound similar. Or similar enough that most people wouldn't mind. If you're saying we need to plant the seeds of success and steer the ship toward victory, that's not gonna work. No, that's not gonna work at all. If you say something about planting seeds, then please continue it with something to do with something similar. Same was for steering the ship towards victory. Stick with one idea at a time. Do not go down the paths of multiple metaphors with multiple ideas. It's not gonna sound nice. And finally, what we need to talk about the most. Creating metaphors. How do we do it? You don't have to copy common metaphors. You can make your own. Who says you can't? How do we do it though? There's some effective and simple ways to create a metaphor. Think about your main message. What are you trying to explain? What are you trying to express? What are you trying to say? What picture are you trying to paint in the minds of your audience? Find something familiar. What's a common image, situation, and or object your audience would easily understand? And then connect them clearly with your topic. Example, if your topic is about teamwork, you might say, a team is like an orchestra. Each person plays different instruments, but together they create harmony. Or, let's see. Time is a ticking time bomb. You'll never know when you leave this world. And so on and so forth. It's simple, it's clear, and it's memorable. You can practice this by picking random topics and trying to describe them through everyday objects and or situations your audience can relate to, like sports, music, and or nature. Using metaphors in your delivery. Don't just say the metaphor, show it. When using one, you can emphasize it with your tone, pacing, and even gestures. For example, if you say we're all climbing a mountain together, you can raise your hand slightly as if pointing upward or showing movement. Your expression and body language can make an image feel alive, can make the image feel alive. Remember, your goal is not to just use pretty words or complicated words. It's to help your audience visualize the message and feel connected to it. After all, public speaking is about connecting to your audience. And that is all for this video. Thank you all for watching and or listening to this video. I hope this helps you understand more about metaphors and how you can add them to your public speaking and how you can use them. They help your audience see, imagine, and feel what you mean, turning simple sentences into meaningful and memorable ones. Remember, a good metaphor isn't about sounding poetic or fancy. That sometimes happens on its own. It's about making your message clear and relatable and just easy to understand in general. This video is part of the language and style category focusing on metaphors. If you'd like to learn more, check out the other videos on the channel, like vocabulary choice, clarity and simplicity, and or tone. Thank you again for joining me. Keep practicing and keep speaking, and remember, the right words can paint pictures that your audience will never forget. Goodbye for now, and I hope to see you soon in the next video.